Blast me to Calmer's skull! It's time for the Mad Merlins Warhammer 40,000 Imperium Journey, Issue 78, Part 2, Battle Report. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Mad Merlins Warhammer 40,000 Imperium Journey, where we are finally moving on with Issue 78 after a bit of a hiatus. So before we get into anything, don't forget to, of course, like the video if you are enjoying the content, and why not also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, as the numbers are increasing. We are just over 300, I think we're nearly on the road to 400, so keep the subscriptions coming, it helps the channel out, as does leaving a comment down below. So let me know if you've been enjoying the Imperium Journey and any ideas you have that could help me out for the coming campaign, which is issues 81 to 90. And also don't forget to check all my links in the description down below, including the ever helpful Mad Merlins Patreon. So we've got issue 78 here, and the only thing left to do is to go over the rules for the command barge, look at the mission, and then we'll go through the two armies I'll be using before we get into the actual battle report. So I'll set the camera up to full vertical and we'll take a look at the command barge's rules. So here we have the datasheet for the Catacomb command barge. As you can see, it's 9 power for the single model, has a movement of 12, weapon skill and ballistic skill of 2+, strength 5, toughness 6, 9 wounds, 4 attacks, leadership of 10 and a 3+ save. He comes with the Gauss cannon on the actual barge itself, and the Overlord wields a war scythe and a resurrection orb. You can optionally swap out the Gauss cannon for a Tesla cannon. That's pretty much about it. Other than that, we got some really cool rules here. So we got my will be done as usual for all Overlords have. So add 1 to the attack roll of a unit within 9 inches. We have the Relentless March aura, so an extra 1 inch movement for all models, core models within 6 inches. It's quantum shielding, so we have a 5+ and can't be wounded on better than a 5+ and vulnerable save, and can't be wounded on better than a 4+, which is pretty good. Makes us a lot more durable. It does have the explode, so roll a d6 before you remove it. On a 6 it blows up, and everything within 3 inches will suffer a mortal wound. And we have the hover rules, so distance are measured to and from this model's hull rather than the base, or its base, sorry, even, whichever is the closest. So yeah, most likely it will be the hull as it protrudes a fair bit. But a lot of people might count the hull as starting more back here, and these bits don't count. But I always count the furthest point of the actual hull, which is either the curves here or the front prow there. It's all still part of the main vehicle itself. But yeah, really cool. It's a pity he doesn't continue on foot after the command barge is destroyed like he used to. That was a really fun little thing. You take the command barge as an upgrade to the Overlord, and then when the command barge is actually destroyed, the Overlord is left on and continues on foot on his own. He has his own wounds profile. Good times back in those editions. On the back we have a tutorial here for measuring your movement for hovering. So yes, this is where they tell you to measure from, so the front of the hull, the tip of the prow there, then measure 12 inches from the front to the front again. And line of sight, it's a large model, so as long as the opponent can see such any particular part of the model, it is counted as being visible. So yeah, it says here, units locked to shoot at the command barge are considered to have line of sight to any part of the vehicle's hull. As the command barge does not have infantry beasts or swarm, it cannot benefit cover when hidden behind terrain features like ruins. So we do need something a little bit bigger to help block line of sight, so the heliotrope reactors will come in handy. But this thing is pretty tough to get through anyway, so I don't think it needs cover really. but it will be a fire magnet. A lot of heavy guns are going to go straight at this. The only thing it's got benefiting for itself is the quantum shielding, so you can't wound it on better than a 4+. Moving on then, we have issue 87's mission, and this is veteran mission, sorry, not 87, 78 even. Oh, blimey, I'm jumping ahead. Veteran Mission 19, Into the Breach. So this sees the Imperium finally penetrating the outer defences of the Necrons complex and are heading towards the final fortress of Necron control. So, Battle in Tomb. So we have hostile territory rule, which means we can't set up in no man's land or have a ability that takes us outside of our deployment zone. So stuff like the Skitarii Rangers won't be able to make an advance move if it takes them outside of the deployment zone, but you could set them up back here and still get a 3-inch move forward if you so chose, just to get them. But really, it's not much benefit to you either way. And you can't put your infiltrators, such as your incursors, anywhere in here, so it's player B will be able to, but player A can't. So the Imperium have a 9-inch deployment zone along one edge. Necrons have a triangle deployment zone along their edge, and there is an 11-inch by 6-inch doorway, which the Imperium needs to get a combined power rating worth of models in there in order to win. So primary objectives for this mission is take and hold as usual. 5 points for each of these we meet. So one or more, two or more, or more than the opponent. Can't be scored in the first battle round. So even though the Necrons could get early victory points, they can't. Secondary objectives. In this mission, the Imperium player is selecting objectives. They can, if they wish, choose for one to be establish a foothold. So the Imperium player adds up the power ratings of friendly units wholly within the marked zone in red on the map below. Scores a number of victory points equal to the total for a maximum of 15. So yeah, the more units you get in there, the better. Just to help get you some extra victory points at the end, but it will be mainly fighting over the central objectives. So we'll see how the mission goes. Finally then, before we look at the two armies I'm taking in this battle, we have what's next up, and it is Merlin's Day. Our final 2 issues, which has the Brute Guilliman. And I've already painted mine, and I have the video uploaded, but it's set to private currently, but it will be available after this video has gone live and been up for a while, so people can watch it as soon as it is available. Right, let's take a look then at our armies. We'll start with the Imperium. So here we have, there we go, that's better. Here we have my Imperium army, 75 power. And I've gone for a pretty even split. So we have all the Adeptus Mechanicus stuff, so the Tech Priest Dominus, Engineer, Rangers, and the Cataphrons. We have the most of the Battle Sisters. We have the Canoness, Repentia, and the Mistress, 10 Battle Sisters, and 5 Seraphim. Then leading the force, we have Calgar as our Warlord, the Lieutenant, 2 squads of 5 Intercessors, the Victrix Guard, Outrider, and the Invader as well. So as it's going to be holding objectives, I'm going to make sure my fast-moving units can go for those central ones, keep the bulky units of the Sisters and the Skitarii back holding a home objective, while the other smaller squads try to advance forward. But yeah. It's going to be a fun mission, I think. We'll see how things play. Like I said, Calgar will be my Warlord, so I'll be trying to conserve as many extra command points as I can with his abilities. But it's going to be a bit of a mixed bag on how I'm going to field things. Definitely going to keep the Seraphim off and have them deep strike in. Maybe outflank the Cataphrons. I'm not too sure yet. I'll have a think about that before we get to deployment. But yeah, there we have it. Let's take a look then at the Necron army. And here we have our 75 power of Necrons. So leading the force, of course, is our Overlord on his command barge. And he's got the Enduring Will Warlord trait. I have a Royal Warden and Scorpec Lord as 2 additional HQ choices to help bolster the force. We then have a big bunch of warriors there as a core for the army, 2 squads of 5 Immortals, giving us our 3 troops. 5 Lich Guard with War Scythes, gone for something a little different this time. 3 Scorpec Destroyers and a Plasma Sight, 3 Wraiths, Death Marks, the Triarch Stalker and the Reanimator finish off the army. So I think I'm going to be keeping back the warriors and possibly the Death Marks as a sort of a sniper position. Try and keep as many Imperium Force units away from that gate as possible, while the smaller units drive up with protection of the Triarch and the Overlord and gun down any stray Imperium units they come across. But yeah, it's all about the objectives really, I think, for this mission, so we're going to hopefully hold as many as we can while taking down the Imperium and stop them from knocking on our door. So there we have it, that's the 2 armies. I'm going to set up the battlefield and I will see you shortly. So here we are all set up and ready for Veteran Mission 19. So we'll go over our deployment, or my deployment first, and then we'll have our dramatic reading before we get into finding out who gets turn 1. So we'll start with the Necrons, I think. So we've got the triangle deployment zone, but I've kept out of the corners as much as I can. We do have the Wraiths down here as a flank melee threat on this side, with the Scorpex being their mirror on that side. 2 crates there represent the gateway, and the warriors and reanimator are sitting in there, protecting that. We've got the Triarch Stalker, 1 unit of the Immortals with the Royal Warden, the Lich Guard, the Death Marks, the other Immortals, then the Overlord on his command barge there. Then for the Space Marines, right at the top, we got our Outriders and the Invader, 1 squad of Assault Intercessors behind them. Lieutenant, Cowl Guard, a Victor's Guard, the other Assault Intercessor squad. Then we got my Battle Sister contingent, which is just the Canoness, Battle Sisters, Repentia and Mistress. The Seraphim are Sky Striking. And then we have our Admech contingent, which is the Rangers, Dominus, Engine Seer and the Cataphrons. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting game, I think. There's going to be pretty much... Some Space Marines are going to spend a lot of the early part of the game trying to get as close to the opponents as possible. I'm hoping that we can whittle them down using range to our benefit before they get to us, but we'll have to wait and see. Right then, so let's get on and have our dramatic reading, and it's Mission 19. Into the breach. After weeks of heavy, brutal fighting, the increasingly depleted Imperial forces have broken through the Necrons' last line of defences, and are within striking distance of their primary objective, Kalmar's Skull's Dolmen Gate. The Necrons have withdrawn their elite forces from surrounding battlefields to hold the line. The battles that follow may well determine the fate of the Ramesses system. Regroup and counter. The Necrons, reacting to the latest Imperial assault, have begun to summon troops from the front lines in order to bolster their defences. They must prevent the humans from establishing a position within their bastion, even if doing so means unleashing the Destroyer cults in their entirety. Establish a beachhead. The first Imperial forces into the breach have been ordered to secure a position within the Necrons' central bastion, and hold their ground long enough for reinforcements to exploit the beachhead within the tomb. They must first clear a path through the Necron defenders. No simple task. So with forces deployed, let's find out who gets first turn. Well, the Necrons have run the roll off, but they want to try and let the Imperium come to them, so they're going to go second and let the Imperium go first. So with that, it's on to Imperium turn 1. And we gain our first miracle dice, which is a 2. So here we go with Imperium turn 1. So with the start of the game, the protocol for the Necrons is Eternal Guardian, and we'll go for light cover just in case anything does get in range. It gives us a little bit of added protection. We are, of course, in a Devastator Doctrine for the Space Marines. We have Spirit of the Martyr and the Passion active for the Battle Sisters. I rolled 2 and got 2 and 5. Then for the Skitarii, we're going to go with, sorry, not the Skitarii, the Cataphrons. We're going to go for the Canticles with Invocation of Machine Vengeance, so an extra d6 for charges and advances. And for the Skitarii, their imperative is going to be Aggressor, so plus 3-inch movement, but with minus 1 to our save, which isn't going to be too worrisome this early in the game. And more than makes up for the fact that we can't have that 3-inch extra movement because of the mission rules. So, no surprise, pretty much everything advanced. The only thing that didn't advance, because you didn't need to, was the Canoness. So, with all that, there's no shooting and no charging, so it's on to Necrons turn 1. So, let's see how well they do. Okay, end of Necron movement phase, and everything pretty much moved up normally, except for the Scorpex, who advanced, hoping to get within some charge ranges next turn of the Outriders, hoping that they don't charge them first. But we've got the Immortals to scare them off for the moment with some shooting, followed by the Death Marks. So let's see how well the Necron shooting phase goes. So that's the end of Necron's turn 1, and they've killed 6 models. They killed a total of 1 Outrider, which is a combination of the Scorpec Lord, the Immortals, and the Command Barge. And the Death Marks picked off 5 of the Skitarii Rangers. Other than that, there's not much in the way of casualties so far, so we're going to go into Imperium turn 2. So the Necrons are going to Protocol the Conquering Tyrant, so we'll go for the extra aura ability range, I think. For the Doctriner, we're going to go for Protector Imperative, so we're going to get +1 weapon skill, -1 ballistic skill. Benediction, we're going to enchant the Benediction of the Omnissiah. So we re-roll a hit, a wound, and a damage roll. Miracle Dice is a 3. So here we go then with Imperium turn 2. Okay, end of the Imperium movement phase. Pretty much everything's moved up normally, just in case we do need to shoot or charge anything. Cataphrons have sat still, ready to fire at the Triarch here. Battle Sisters have moved forward onto the objective more and set for Defenders of the Faith. Skitarii have moved up onto the building, and they're going to start taking pot shots back at those Death Marks. While most of my close combat units await chance to charge. So moving on to the Imperium's shooting phase. And here we are at the end of Imperium turn 2. I don't think I'm going to be making any charges. I'm a bit too far away still, so I'm going to let them come a bit closer first. We've killed 2 Immortals, 1 Death Mark, and we have blown up the Triarch Stalker there, thanks to a lot of overcharged plasma shots from the Cataphrons. I really wanted to make sure it was gone, and it did go. I got 10 wounds on it from the plasmas, and then 2 of the Gravs went through with 4 damage, thanks to it being a save of 3+. So yeah, well done, Cataphrons. They've earned themselves a chance to be turned back into normal living humans. No, not likely. Chance will be a fine thing. But yeah, that's it. The Gatling cannon on the Invader took out 2 of the Immortals. Did take out the Battle Sisters, sorry, did take out 1 of their bolt guns, but it reanimated. That's the other casualty we had. So yeah, moving on to Necron's turn 2. End of the Necron movement phase. The Scorpex have closed in on the Space Marines, ready to make a few charges. The first squad of Immortals have stayed where 2. They're in range to get rapid fire on the bikes, or at least the Invader. Death Marks have stayed where 2 in the building. The Immortals and Royal Warden here have moved up. Wraiths here have moved up. Lich Guard have shuffled over onto the objective more, and then the Command Barge has again shuffled over slightly. So, moving on to the Necron shooting phase. End of the Necron's second shooting phase. Not much has happened. We did kill another 3 Skitarii in that unit. So, took off the... Yes, it was 2, sorry. So the Sergeant and the Arc Rifle, they were probably the least useful in that squad at the moment. I've lost 2 Battle Sisters, in combination of Immortals and the Command Barge. And other than that, I've shrugged off. I think, I can't see from here. Nope, I did take 2 wounds on the Invader. So, yeah, moving on then, it's going to be the charge phase. We've only got the 1 charge, which will be the Scorpec Lord into the Invader, hoping to shred him to pieces. And the Invader is no more. The Scorpec Lord cleaved it in 2 with his massive harvester. So, moving on then, it's time for the Imperium's 3rd turn. So, for the Necrons, we are going to Protocol Vengeful Stars, and we'll go for the extra AP on 6s for shooting. I forgot to move Doctrine last time, but as it's the 3rd battle round, we can move straight to the Assault Doctrine, which is what we want. My imperative is going to be Bulwark, so +1 to my armor save, but -3 to my movement. That's fine, I'm not moving anywhere this turn. And for my Canticle, I'm going with Shroud Psalm, so an extra light, so we count as having light cover no matter where we are. A 3rd Miracle Dice, which is a 4. And start of the Imperium's turn, in their command phase, we gain an extra 10 points, pushing us to 25. So we've got a good 20-point lead against the Necrons, but it's still all to play for. Here we go then, with Imperium turn 3. So movement phase was very minimal. Cataphrons have stayed still and got healed by Detect Priest. The Space Marines have moved a little bit closer to the Scorpex, ready to charge in. And I'm going to hit Defenders of the Faith again for 2 command points. Do I get any of those back? Nope, 2 and a 3. Okay. So moving on then into the Imperium's shooting phase. Okay, end of the Space Marine shooting phase, and sadly that Scorpec Lord cannot save anything. Poor bloke got pulverised by bolt pistols, bolt rifles, Volkite pistol with an immortal wound, and even Calgar gunned down a Scorpec destroyer. Other than that, nothing done much damage. I killed a Wraith thanks to the Grav. And that's about it. It's now as a charge phase, and those last 2 Scorpecs are about to get a load of Power Swords and Power Fists in their face. And that's all the Scorpecs ever got to do. 3 damage on the Lieutenant. So, yeah, poor Scorpex got annihilated by Calgar and the Victor's Guard, and the Lieutenant was left to mop up the plasma site. They performed less than I would have wanted them to perform this game. I should have kept them back a little bit, let the Space Marines come to me more instead of being greedy and hoping to get a charge on more than one unit. I should have definitely held them back a bit more. They're supposed to be the Necrons are supposed to be holding back and defending, but the Scorpex, they just proved a little bit too overpowered to stay gripping reality. Oh dear. So yeah, with that, it's on to the Necron's turn. They are going to be hard pressed to gain some points back. We'll see how the turn goes, but it might be a conceding. So here we go with Necron's turn 3. End of the Necron movement phase, and they're finally making a bit of an aggressive advance. The Immortals are converging on the Battle Sisters, the Wraiths have gone after the Cataphrons, the Overlord and his Lich Guard are bearing down on Calgar. Royal Warden has moved back to sit on the objective, and hopefully the Wraiths will be able to fall back anyway after the fight and claim back 4. Scoring on 10 points, so they still have a 10-point gap, but we're going to go through the shooting phase and see how well that goes. Here we go. Shooting phase 3 for the Necrons. End of the Necron shooting phase, and we've gunned down 6 Battle Sisters. So not doing too bad as a combination of the 2 mortal units. And the Death Marks have gunned down 2 more of the Skitarii, leaving just the Plasma. We've also done a wound on the Victor's Guard with the Command Barge, but that was all we managed to do. With a reroll on the damage roll, I still got a 1 for the D3, so I'll take the wound, I guess. Right, moving on then, we got the charge phase, and it'll be the Command Barge and the Lich Guard into Calgar. End of the Necron fight phase, and well, things went pretty viciously both ways. Calgar has a single wound left, and the Command Barge has 2 wounds left. And the fight down here just did no damage either way. Actually, no, sorry, the Wraith did 2 damage to the Cataphrons, and that's about it. Yeah, it's kind of hard to call the game. I mean, I don't think the Space Marines are going to get anything in for the bonus points, but they are still ahead on victory points as it is. And then to next turn, I've dropped 2 command points for insane bravery, so we get 2 points for 10 points for holding 2 objectives. And technically we have more than the opponent because the Wraiths moved away, so we will get our full 15. I think I'm going to call it a Imperial victory, which is not often seen. But it's going to be a hollow victory because we are going to consider Calgar losing the fight. Because Space Marine's turn next, the only thing he could do to keep alive is to fall back. That's not going to be very heroic of him. He's going to definitely fight to the end. So yeah, I'm going to say Space Marine victory. They're going to score 15 points, pushing them up to 40 points, and Necrons aren't going to recuperate that anytime soon. So, as I said at the beginning of the video, it was going to come down to just controlling objectives, and luckily I put my fast units in positions to gain those points early on, and it's paid off. So all that's left for me to do then is to say thank you all for watching. If you've enjoyed the content, please like the video and consider subscribing if you haven't already. I will be back for issue 79 of Imperium, where we have our first part of Rabute Gilliman. And the next video is actually a double, covering all the lore behind the 2 issues. After that, then, it is a decisive plan for the Imperium with Mission 20, before we have our final showdown in issue 80 with Mission 21, which has a massive 100 power each side, plus a nice little fun duel happening in the middle of the battlefield, which is going to be quite fun. So yeah, that's it, and I will see you next time for more mad content. Goodbye.